Hello, everyone, and welcome to MDEV 2025. My name is Turger Hazel, and today we are doing more creative conversations. I have Ugochi Ofoha here talking about the Afterlife Cafe and your studio, Guava Pixel Studios. And I'm here to ask you a little bit about the game and being here at MDEV 2025. But first, why don't you introduce people to who you are and what the Afterlife Cafe is as a game?
Yes, so again, my name is Ugochi Ofoha, and I am the founder of Guava Pixel Studios. The Afterlife Cafe is an urban sci-fi fantasy visual novel centered around traveling to the afterlife. Yeah. So you play as a 20-something-year-old tech worker who's new at her job, trying to figure out work culture and being good at her job. And there are these afterlife cafes that exist in this world. So in these cafes, they're run by concierges, and you're able to go upstairs in the lounge, relax, make yourself a beverage. The downstairs area is the death pod room. So this is where the machines are that transport you to the afterlife.
Sure.
So in the afterlife, you get to chat with spirits and learn about their aspirations, their reflections, their life lessons. So it's a story not just about the afterlife, but it's about the bonds and connections that you make throughout the story.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious with a game of that sort of depth of theme. Not a lot of games try to cover themes as dark, or at least, maybe emotionally challenging as death and the afterlife. And so what inspired you to take on such a complicated topic that some people might be a little bit more apprehensive to cover in one of your first games?
Yes, a lot of different things inspired it. I personally find things around the unknown and the unseen very interesting. I thought using the topic of death would be a really interesting thing to explore, because I personally believe that it's something we all experience at one point in another. And I don't think it should be a taboo in society. And so I thought combining that topic with the cozy and warm atmosphere of the game would be just a really interesting thing to explore, and a way to also introduce people to reflect on their lives as you have the conversations with the spirits and the concierges and the coworkers throughout the story. My hope is that people do reflect on their own lives and the meaningful bonds that they experience.
Sure, yeah. Well, what about the format of the game? It is a visual novel. It's very text heavy. It's got some great art that we've been complimenting here in the interview team. I'm curious why you decided to make a visual novel as opposed to any other kind of game. Is that a genre you have a personal connection to, and like why that specific kind of game?
Yes, it was both personal and strategy. From a personal perspective, I played my first visual novel just maybe 2 years ago. My preference of games has always been like RPGs. Sure. And so when I played my first visual novel, I thought it was such an amazing medium. Yeah.
What game was that?
It was The Last Legacy.
The Last Legacy.
Yeah. And so I thought it was such a really cool concept and medium to be able to have multiple choices. And I thought it was also something that could help keep the scope down, like strategy-wise, as far as making a game. Yeah. And so because I knew, I could focus on having a few background images, having some characters with different poses, the scope would hopefully not, balloon out. And so I thought that would help me to manage scope, keep something that's maintainable that I could release in, maybe about a year's time, because I didn't want to get into a space where it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I'm still working on this game, so that's why. Yeah.
Well, what's your experience and history with game development? I'm not familiar if you've done any other games or what things you've done before this that got you to working on the Afterlife Cafe.
Yes, this is actually my first commercial game. Awesome. I started working on it in January.
Oh, cool.
And yes, January of this year.
You can never tell.
Yeah. And my background is actually software engineering.
Sure.
And so I went to school for computer science. My love of video games is what motivated me. And at that point, I was like, maybe I'll make video games or do computer animation, and I ended up going just the web app developer route. And so I basically, as I was building out this game, took a lot of the lessons that I've learned from my software engineering background regarding agile software development and iteration and testing and feedback loops. Sure. Yeah, and so I took all that, and also managing teams, leading teams. And so I took all that to, do the planning and the creative direction. There was a big learning curve as well, because there's so much that is involved in making a video game that is very different from software, like all of the art direction, the music direction. That's hats I had to wear for the first time, but I feel like with the people that I collaborated with and their skill sets, we were all able to come together and just make something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Well, what kind of players do you think will be interested in the Afterlife Cafe? Do you have a target demographic or a type of game player that you're kind of aiming for the game to really resonate with?
I do. When I started off, I kind of had an idea of the type of audience, but as I've gotten feedback from people who have played the game, that's evolved a little bit. I think an audience that I will really target in the as I do more marketing are people who work in the deaf space. I had my first showcase recently, and someone who is a deaf doula played the game, and it was really interesting getting her perspective and experience. A lot of research did go into the game that the writer did, and did research on the work that deaf doulas do and people who have had near-death experiences. And it was great confirmation coming from the deaf doula after she played it about how she really did think like this game would help to break down that taboo of people kind of being afraid to talk about death. And recently I was speaking about my game and spoke with someone who does obituary work. And so I think people who work in that field, it would be a great collaboration space. And then something that's also happened recently is a lot of people have been, when I tell them the premise, the first game that they think of is Spiritfarer. And so I think people who have enjoyed that combination of, there are themes of like grief and death, but it's a heartwarming experience as well. So I think people who have those interests in those types of games, that appeal to them, going for that audience.
Well, you're here at MDEV 2025, and it's a great place for indie devs to meet one another and to show off their games for close to the first time. You said last week was actually the first time you had the game sort of out in public and for people to check out. And so I'm curious, being here, being in Madison, being at MDEV, what does that mean to you, having the game sort of be shown to the public and to this specific area in the Midwest, in Madison, for the first time?
It's been amazing. Like, it's been so great having people stop by the booth, check it out, play the demo, get their feedback. It's, people, as you mentioned in the beginning, people have been really loving the art style. So that's something I'm really proud of, that, the artists will love to hear. And it's just been a great experience so far. Just hearing, seeing people come by. Yesterday I was able to attend a lot of talks as well. And learn from people in the industry, because, again, I don't have any actual game development experience. I'm like learning, essentially on the job. So it was just great to hear some game design principles and, things to consider as I'm building out this game.
Well, what are your plans for release of the game? Do you have platforms in mind, a window of when you're trying to be ready to finish this up and share it with the world?
Yeah, so my goal is to release this Q1 of 2026, so that's coming right around the corner. And my main platform that I'm planning for is Steam, but I'm also looking at itch and possibly Epic Games as well.
That would be awesome, and how can people follow and find more information about the Afterlife Cafe? Do you have social media or a website or anything that people should check out?
Yeah, so Guava Pixel Studios everywhere. I have a website, guavapixelstudios.com, and I'm also at Guava Pixel Studios on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have my YouTube as well, where the trailers are out. I have 2 trailers that are out right now. So pretty much all the major places you can find me.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in to hear about the Afterlife Cafe. Thank you very much for sitting down with me. It immediately grabbed my eye as someone who's interested in visual novels, so I'll be following all those and checking out the game when it releases. So excited to have you putting out your first game. It's a big moment, and thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you so much.